Yo, what is going on, you babbling Bisharp? Today, I'm going to be taking a look at what I think are the top 5 cards to come out of Evolving Skies that will not have a decent amount of impact on release, but I think will have a little bit more longevity throughout the standard format and continue to impact the format, you know, as the new sets after Evolving Skies are released. I was going to try and do a top 10, but as I looked through this set and was trying to get cards to make a top 10 with, I couldn't find 10. I couldn't find 10 cards that I think will really have a big enough impact to be worth putting in a top 10. So we're going with the top 5 with this set, which is a little disheartening once I kind of looked at it and was working through it, because that means we're not getting that many cards that are going to be that impactful on this set release. Of course, rotation will shake things up quite a bit itself, but it would have been nice to have, you know, more impactful cards coming out of this first set after rotation. Before I get into the first card, I do want to mention, if you guys need Evolving Skies stuff, if you need booster boxes or single cards, go check out Channel Fireball. And if you guys need codes, go over to ptcgostore.com. Links for both of those will be in the description below. So if you need cards or codes, check them out over there. Okay, let's get into number 5. Metacham V. It's got that 210 HP, fighting type. And then weak to psychic, double 2 retreat cost, and then its attacks. The smash uppercut for fighting colorless colors for 100. This attack isn't affected by resistance. Is definitely the weaker of the 2 attacks. You won't use that very often. The attack you're going to be using is the Yoga Loop for colorless colors. Put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by this attack, take another turn after this one. Skip Pokemon checkup. If one of your Pokemon used Yoga Loop during your last turn, this attack can't be used. You can't loop Yoga Loops. You can use it once. You can't use it on the next turn. But if you do take a knockout with Yoga Loop, you get to take another turn. So this is obviously going to combo very well with the Rapid Strike Inteleon deck that is super popular leading up to rotation and will probably be very popular after rotation, as the deck is just super powerful. And this is just another tool for that deck to take advantage of, and it covers that many more situations that the Urshifu deck maybe had trouble with before, and will give you a much better matchup spread overall having a card like this Metacham V in the deck. The reason it is at number 5 here, though, is because that's basically the only deck that this card can be played in. So if Rapid Strike ever goes out of favor in the meta and is no longer really viable in the meta in standard, the Metacham won't be able to be played because it's really only playable in that deck until we maybe get some new cards in future sets. But as of right now, really only viable in the Urshifu Inteleon deck. So that's why it's number 5. I think it'll have a huge impact on keeping that deck a top contender throughout the format, throughout his existence in standard. But if for some reason it ever falls out of favor and just isn't viable in standard anymore, Metacham goes with it. So Metacham here at number 5. Number 4, I've got the Umbreon V Max 310 HP, Dark type, got the Dark Signal ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon for dark colors, 160 damage, weak to grass, 2 retreat cost. So this is a stage 1, so of course that makes it a little bit less consistent to kind of pull off as like a tech card index. And on a standalone, it's not that great either. So the obvious deck to include the Umbreon V Max in is that Eternatus deck. So very good in Eternatus, I think, for sure. But from there, do you really want to add a 1/1 or 2/2 or even a 3/3 Umbreon VMAX to other decks to get that gust effect? That means you don't have to really use your supporter for the turn. You don't have to play boss, so you can still go gust on the turn and then maybe even combo that with some kind of hand disruption like a Marnie. So you can play something like, you know, research, find the Umbreon, play the Umbreon, gust something up, or you can do something like, you know, gust something up and then play Marnie and disrupt your opponent's hand as well. So there's definitely a lot of potential for this card to be played in pretty much anything, to be honest. I think, like I said, obvious inclusion probably into Eternatus VMAX initially, but potentially can be played in anything, and that's why I have it as number 4 instead of, or over the Metacham, not instead of, over the Metacham, because like I said, with Metacham, it's really only viable in that Rapid Strike Urshifu Inteleon deck, but Umbreon can kind of be played in anything, so a lot more viability there. It's just, is it going to be worth the space? Is it worth it playing this whole other VMAX line in your deck to get that gust effect through the Dark Signal? Like I said, a lot of potential plays to be made with this card, but definitely going to be an Eternatus, but similar to the Metacham, as soon as Eternatus goes out of favor in the meta, or if it never even gets into favor in the meta, like if it's never even seemingly that viable to play Eternatus just for, you know, you have to deal with stuff like Zamazenta, Urshifu, if it can never really get into the format to begin with, then Umbreon won't be played in there at all. And if that's the only deck that's viable for Umbreon, maybe Umbreon won't see that much play. But I think there definitely is some potential for this card, maybe not initially on released in most decks, but maybe as we get some new sets, some other cards to play this alongside, maybe this will fit better into some decks in the future. So I think there's a lot of potential for the Umbreon, and because it isn't really as limited to one deck like the Metacham, I give it the number 4 spot over the Metacham that's at number 5. Number 3, I have the Rayquaza VMAX, and I got Rayquaza VMAX here at number 3 because it is like the new archetype that we're kind of getting immediate access to with the set release Rayquaza VMAX comboed alongside the Flaffy that we'll be getting. It just makes a potential very powerful deck to now contend with, to now be a contender in the format. So 320 HP, it is the VMAX, like I said. It's got that Azure Pulse, which is an insanely powerful ability. Once on your turn, you may discard your hand and draw 3 cards. It doesn't say once per turn, so you can actually do this for as many Rayquaza VMAXs as you have in play, which is insanely powerful. So ability is really strong, and then the attack for the fire and the lightning, max burst, 20 damage plus. You may discard any amount of basic fire energy or basic lightning energy attached to this Pokemon. It does 80 damage times the amount of energy you discard. So you have to choose between lightning or fire, but with an unlimited damage cap, you can one-hit KO other VMAXs, which is a huge deal, a huge thing to be able to have access to in the at any point. Being able to one-hit KO anything is always good. Unlimited damage is usually a pretty good thing. The question will be, how many times can you do that throughout a game? How consistently can you max burst for one-hit KOs against other VMAXs? And that's what we're gonna have to figure out about Rayquaza. Rayquaza could be a very mediocre deck and not really a top contender for like the tier 1, tier 2 spots in the standard meta. And it might be more like a tier 3, tier 4 kind of run hot deck. I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping it's a little bit more consistent than that. And your opponents have to play strategically around maybe chasing your Flaffies and stuff to slow you down, to give themselves time to be able to keep up with the power of the max burst from the Rayquaza. So that's what I'm hoping happens. But yeah, I got the Rayquaza here. If it is good, if it is strong, it's gonna shake up the meta quite a bit. If it is obviously just a tier 1 deck out of the gates, it'll shake up the way other people build their decks and what decks are actually even viable in the meta, what can compete against the Rayquaza. Because if your deck just can't and Rayquaza is super popular, probably not gonna be able to play what you want to play, and you're gonna have to make a adjustment on your deck choice based around that. So Rayquaza could be something that really shakes up the meta and continue to, especially because it doesn't have weakness, which means you can't just all of a sudden play a different type of Pokemon to kind of hard counter it. With the no weakness factor, it's a little bit harder to counter. You can't just be like, well, I want to be able to beat a Shadow Rider, I'll play a Eternatus, or I'll play a deck with Moltres. Against Rayquaza, you have to be like, well, I have to be able to just beat what they're trying to do fundamentally as a deck, not just play a type that kind of beats them. So if it is a very strong deck, it's going to be that much harder to counter. So it could have a huge impact on the format. So I got Rayquaza here at number 3. And then moving up to number 2 and number 1 are 2 cards that I think will continuously have strong impacts on deck building. The first one is Rihanna, which says you can play this card only if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. If you do, search your deck for a card and put it into your hand, any card. So you get a basic energy from the discard pile, and then you get to search your deck for any card. So similar to something like Teammates or Twins that we've had in the past, where it's kind of a come from behind kind of card, or my opponent has taken a knockout, I get to finally play this card kind of card. And it's got a super powerful effect. Basic energy from the discard pile, so energy acceleration, and then any one card from your deck. Which will be a little bit less powerful right now because we are rotating. So we're losing sets, which means we're just losing cards in the card pool of potential cards that Rihanna can find. But as more sets get released, I think this card will only get more powerful. It'll have more partners to combo with to accelerate energy to, and also have the option of finding more in different cards because we'll have more cards in the card pool. So this card, I think, will only get stronger as new sets release. And with the Inteleon engine being so strong and popular, this is a perfect inclusion in pretty much any deck that is already playing the Inteleon engine. So the initial partner that this will be super good with is the Rapid Strike Urshifu Inteleon deck. It'll be so good in that deck for sure, especially with the loss of Karate Belt. Having some form of energy acceleration is what that deck really loves to have to get to those Gmax Rapid Flows more consistently and more constantly. So this will be an insanely good addition to the Urshifu deck initially, but I definitely see it being a great card in many decks down the line. I don't think it's only going to be the Urshifu deck that this card is so good in. I think it's going to be so super good in many decks and to come, and will completely change how a lot of decks are built because you'll want to include this card in there. And the next card is going to have similar effects on deck building, and that's the Glacial V Max. So Glacial V Max, 310 HP, and this is my number 1 card. It's got that Crystal Veil ability. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon V Max, except any Glacial V Max. And it's got for the watercolors colors, Max Icicle 150. This attack also does 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon, 2 or 3 costs, weak to metal. So the weak to metal part could be a little bit of a hindrance for this card because there is Zacian in the format and Zamazenta, which might be a little bit annoying to deal with, or might just have to take an auto loss there. There is the tool card, the Glaceon tool card coming out that does take away the weakness, but there's still 2 KOing you, and then you having to deal with Zamazenta yourself might be a little bit too much to handle. So you might just have to take a loss there, or Zacian and Zamazenta might not be very good. Gonna have to wait and see on that as well. But with the rotation happening and us losing tag teams and almost every deck going to be centered around VMAXs, having a card that's this powerful that says you can't be hit by VMAXs seems super good to me. And we have Rihanna you could include in here to have some form of energy acceleration to the Glaceon, or you could play Melanie. So I'm thinking Glaceon VMAX with a Inteleon engine with Melanies, maybe even some Raihans in there as well. Could be super, super powerful. And also the extra ping damage can really help you clean up 2-hit KOs on what's going to have to be hitting you, which is most likely going to be V Pokemon. So if a V with 210, 220 HP is hitting you, you get the max Icicle in there for 150. You put 30 on a different V. You get some ping damage in with some quick shootings, and then you do like a boss play and then clean it up with the 30 damage from the snipe on the one you had hit previously for the 150. Just seems really good. So I think this card is going to drastically change how pretty much every deck is played in the format, because you have to account for Glaceon all of a sudden, which says your VMAXs don't do anything. You're going to have to hit me with something else. So they're going to drastically have to change up how they're built by including Paths to the Peak, including enough attackers to hit the Glaceon to get around the Crystal Veil. Just so many things to have to deal with this Glaceon. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Glaceon. I think it's going to be a super strong addition to the format and really going to shake things up. For sure, drastically forcing your opponent to change up how they build their deck. Like I said, you're gonna have some kind of answer to this Crystal Veil ability. You can play Paths to the Peaks, you can play more attackers that can hit that aren't VMAXs. But I think it'll be a really cool addition to the format, like I'm saying. And I can't wait to see how the Glaceon does change things up. And it's my #1 card because I think it'll have the biggest effect on the meta initially on release, and then continuously as new sets get released. VMAXs are going to be the new big attackers every single set, and Glaceon is still going to have this Crystal Veil ability even when new sets come out. So that's it, guys. That is my top 5. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to start doing more different kinds of videos like this. I still am going to get back into doing the PTCGO gameplay videos pretty consistently, especially once the new set releases, and I'll continue to do those hopefully 3 or 4 times a week once I get back to regularly uploading, maybe 4 or 5 times a week. But I want to include more videos like this on my channel, which are a little bit different, allow me to switch things up, and kind of challenge actually my video editing skills, because I've been always a huge fan. I think I mentioned this in my last video, huge fan of video editing. I've never just done it a whole ton, and I want to keep doing more of it. So I want to do more videos like this where I can be a little bit more on hands with the editing and having a little bit more stuff to do as far as that goes. But anyways, if you guys liked the video, give it a like. If you're new here and want to see more, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. And I don't know, comment down below. Do you guys think I missed any really important cards coming out of this set? Is what would be if you had to add a 6th card to this list, or if you have a different #1 card, let me know in the comment section down below. I think my 6th card was the Stormy Winds Stadium that searches your deck for a dragon or a lightning Pokemon out of your deck, because I think that'll have a huge impact on those types, dragon and lightning, in the future when new sets release with more lightning, more dragon Pokemon that want to abuse that stadium. That'll be a huge consistency boost to those decks and really change how those decks would be built with that card in the format. So that was my 6th card, was the Stormy Winds Stadium. I don't even know what it's, Stormy Islands. You know what it does. Anyways, guys, once again, hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys need cards or codes, Channel Fireball and PTCGO store, go check them out. Links in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.